Well, I try for maximum fairness no matter who I'm covering, but Aaron is making things fairly hard for even people who are trying to remain neutral. But we'll get to Aaron soon enough. I just want to make sort of one or two announcements. One is that Jerry Armstrong has put up a very interesting video on his YouTube channel. It wasn't originally from there, it was from another YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel still exists, but where it is exactly now, I don't know. We're going to have to wait for the owner and maker of that YouTube channel to clarify it. But basically, it's a very interesting video on the IRS and Scientology crisis and whether we can remove the tax-exempt status. So I'd guide people to that. It's a very interesting video. I've already covered it. I will cover it further. And now to get to Aaron himself. And someone brought this up in the comments, since I want to be careful in terms of anonymity. The person brought up that Stephanie, a blogger who was friendly to Mike Rinder, and Rinder, for those who don't know, was a former head of OSA in Scientology. He's more lately a whistleblower. He's on the Aftermath Foundation, which Aaron co-founded, and he's been kicked off there. So Stephanie brought up Colin and the tragic story of him. Colin is Aaron's brother who died very young. I'm just going to say I will address that in due time, but it's a very tricky situation. I'd be very careful on that. However, I don't think that makes Aaron look good. There's a lot of details that make Aaron actually look pretty bad in that situation. But I will put a pin on Colin. It's a very sensitive situation. And although I did see a lot of this video that he put out with Nora, I did not see the whole thing, so I want to look at the earlier sections to see if he addressed these points, because he was making these two major points which I'm going to contest. The framing is, to put it mildly, very, very deceptive. So what did he do? Well, he revisited this scandal from last year in May when he went to Los Angeles to cover the Danny Masterson trial. Now, nobody invited him. He's not a professional journalist. But for whatever reason, he wanted to cover the Danny Masterson trial for himself, presumably for money and views. And there we are. That is his prerogative. And while he was there, he decided to have a relationship with a woman, Juliana, that he now labels crazy. Now, if she was crazy, why did you do that? I don't know, but he decided to do that anyway. And now he says, against his better judgment, it was not a good decision, but he made that decision. So he's relaying that history, but certain things were a little bit off. So he says that he separated from his wife, Heather. At this point, I think they are formally separated in 2019. Now, there's actually another point, which I'll get to here because it's a little weird, that he says they agreed that they would be separated. As far as I know, we don't know that. So him saying that Heather agreed, we don't know that, but he's saying they agreed. But they live in the same household. Okay, that's 2019. Then he moves the timeline to 2023 with Juliana. He's skipping over, not one, two major incidents at bars. Now, a lot of people know one major incident at the bar. That's been publicized fairly, it's got a lot of traction. So that's the one where he yelled at a woman and called her the C word several times. Yeah, that's one major incident. There's another major incident, and I will get to that very briefly. Basically, what happened is, for whatever reason, Aaron tried to pick up two women, and they were there with their boyfriends, and they didn't like him. He started to get mad and threw beads at them. Make of that what you will. I will get into that at another time. But yeah, there were two major incidents. As far as I know, he skipped them over. Maybe he addressed this earlier in the video. I'll be fair. But that was very strange. So he just does this timeline, and he completely omits two major bar incidents. So that was a little strange. And I actually want to thank Aaron a little bit, because I thought I was going to have to track down this video, but he reaffirms that, well, what exactly happened with Juliana and you? Well, according to him, they were at a hotel, and they had relations, and he decided, I don't want to see you anymore, and she took it badly, and was thrashing the room, making this complete mess, and he got badly injured. And he's re-emphasizing, yeah, he was really, really hurt in his toe, and he was bleeding profusely. Now, he doesn't go into too many details because he says, oh, I already spoke about this. I don't want to revisit the whole thing. But that's his summation. He was really, really badly injured in his toe. Now, what's really interesting is he flatly admits he was lying. Namely, he told Juliana, okay, this is really bad. I'm really bleeding. We need to get to a CVS. I need to get some bandages. And he admits he's lying. He didn't really care about the injury. He says, okay, yeah, I was hurting. I was injured. But my main goal was to get Juliana out of the hotel and not to get spotted. Basically to avoid a scandal. He flatly admits that. He says, yeah, I really didn't care about the injury. I think it was really bad. I needed to go see a doctor or go to the emergency room. I didn't do that. I thought it was more important to get Juliana out of the hotel and avoid a scandal. Okay, that's interesting. And recently there's been released footage where we can see sort of what happened afterwards, and it's not good. Basically, he pushes her down, she's bleeding, and he walks off, which is very critical. If he's that badly injured, but he can still walk, then you're like, well, how badly injured were you? Were you really badly injured at all? Do you have any medical data to show us? Any doctor bill? Any examination by a doctor? How bloody was this toe? Does this even matter? Did this even happen? Were you bleeding? So just a lot of question marks again. But again, even if it's this version of events, it's pretty amazing. He is, again, admitting, saying, yeah, I lied to her. And I guess presumably we need to feel sorry for him because in this situation, she was acting very, very erratic. And he did the best he could with an unstable woman. An unstable woman he had sex with several times. So that's supposed to be a point for him that we should sympathize with him. I don't see how you're going to draw that conclusion, especially when you add in other contextual details like the incidents at the bar and other financial and sex scandals. Yeah, these are not the only ones. He's got quite a few scandals behind him. And in the background is his relationship to the Aftermath Foundation. Now, to be fair, he did say at the time when he was kicked off that he would address these controversies. And he did, but again, like here, he keeps omitting a lot of details and he keeps showing a very biased flow of information. So you can only conclude either he genuinely is delusional, right? And again, these are allegations because there's still a lot we don't know. Or yeah, he's just skewing the story again, which is like, okay. But I did find that wrinkle pretty interesting. One, the way he's going to do the timeline now, that he's going to omit the bar incidents. Okay, interesting. And also, yes, he's going to admit he is a liar, right? If he's put in a crisis situation, he will lie to you. He will lie to your face. If you're the head of a foundation that's supposed to help survivors, that's not good. That would raise legitimate questions about your leadership. So, I don't know. It's all very tricky, but I don't think this video is going to do what I think Aaron thinks it will do, that make people sympathize. I think it will actually raise more questions about whether he can be trusted about anything. But that's just my opinion.